Hello, I am Dr. Cinema. I analyze and diagnose movies and explain them to you. Why doesn't Freddy Krueger number 5 get more love? As you know, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is one of the biggest franchises of horrors, especially with the slasher films. Debuted in 1984 by Wes Craven, it was a slasher who appeared in your dreams and controlled them and basically made you insane until you were at the point of daydreaming when you don't even realize it, which allows him to kill you and use your own fears and other imagery to kill you. A very fun movie. I mean, the part Freddy Krueger was played by Robert Englund, and he was a very dark comedic, like, villain. It was just very entertaining to watch. Now, that, of course, is enough to spun an entire frickin' franchise. We got the second movie, where it's like, the second movie is completely unrelated to, like, most of the series. It doesn't focus on Nancy Thompson, the main girl from the first movie. In fact, we don't even know if she actually survived at that point because it ended in such a, like, deadly way. And we don't see the guy in the second movie at all later on in the series, so what was up with that? But then, of course, we got Nightmare on Elm Street 3, show Nancy Thompson coming back as, like, a doctor, creating a drug to repress dreams. But then Freddy Krueger is back, killing off teenage patients in the hospital that are from Elm Street, and Nancy Thompson helps them, like, learn how to control their dreams before getting killed off, and the Dream Warriors, as they're called, defeat Freddy Krueger. Now, the three Dream Warriors that survived the third film went on to the fourth film. Most of them get killed off, although pretty easily, until all that's left is Alice, the new, like, lead girl, who fights Freddy Krueger at the end of the film in, like, a dream church and defeats him. That fourth film, it's got a little bit of a mixed reception, and I can understand why, but I did like that final scene at the end. But of course, now we have the fifth film, which was given a brief cameo in the new It movie on one of the signs. And it is A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. So, without any more waiting, let's get right to it. So, hold on. So it takes place roughly a year after the events of Elm Street 4, and we focus again on Alice from the fourth movie and her new boyfriend Dan, the football player at the high school. And it appears that she has defeated Freddy Krueger for good. Now, of course, one day she's, like, getting ready in the shower, and all of a sudden she's in an asylum. Neat transition. And she sees that she's dressed as a nun, and she actually has a name tag that says Amanda Krueger. And you can tell that things are going to get dark real fast. And she's walking around. She ends up sort of, like, getting into this one weird place in the asylum where there are a bunch of people that are just, like, kept on the ground while the door is, like, way up here. She goes in the room and is mixing with all these people, but for some reason she gets locked in the room and she gets attacked by all of these weird maniac patients that are in this one secluded room of the asylum. She gets attacked by them, and that's where she comes back to her reality, which is given really no explanation of how that happened. But hopefully they explain later on in the movie, because I would really like to know what the hell that was. So anyway, it's like the next day. Okay, we don't see any more of that day, I suppose. And she's at the graduation ceremony of high school. Okay. And she mingles with people, including her dad. And we get to see the friends that are going to serve as kill bait for Freddy Krueger. We've got Greta, who is going to end up becoming a supermodel, although she seems very resistant to it, as it appears her family, especially her mother, is forcing her to become a supermodel. And then we've got Mark, who's, I guess, only trait is that he's a comic book nerd. You'll fit right into the 2010s movie crowd. Guy, you'll fit right in. And you have Yvonne, a African American girl who is a swimmer. I think she's part of the swim team, but she's also a candy striper at the hospital. And she meets up with her boyfriend Dan, tells her about this weird nightmare that she has, and but not before like Dan tells her about his trip to Europe that's going to be planned. But then he tells her that, reminding her that she's in control of her dreams and that Freddy Krueger is not here. And guess later on, she gets ready to go to work. But on her way to work, she's snapped right out of reality. And she ends up walking back to the asylum. But she's not a nun this time. She actually sees the actual real Amanda Krueger nun being wheeled into the birthing room. Is about to give birth. I guess all those people from the asylum raped her. So the birthing takes place. The baby comes out, and I think it's mentioned that this is a miracle from God. This is one of God's creatures, and Amanda Krueger's like, that is no creature of God. I'm like, that's actually kind of cool. The baby apparently it's good enough to get out of the Bennetts and then just run away from the room. So, of course, Alice follows the baby, and she ends up at the Dream Church from the last movie where she had her final showdown. And she's looking for the baby, looking for everything. Up on top, it's good old Freddy Krueger, and he yells, "It's a boy!" Even though this franchise has so many installments, Robert Englund still brings a fun comedic element to the movies that I just really appreciate. And it looks like he's about to kill her, but of course, Amanda Krueger suddenly shows up, basically telling him that you took my life and I'm going to take yours now. His response, "We'll see, bitch. We'll just see," before vanishing. Damn. That was actually kind of badass. But, of course, she is back to reality. Apparently, she completely missed her shift, and her one coworker that tells her that is pretty pissed off about it. So, Alice contacts Dan, who's apparently at a pool party late at night. Thing. So after he gets the call, he promises he'll pick her up, but he ends up falling asleep when he's going to pick her up, and that brings him back to the pool party place where Freddy Krueger is about to kill him, but Dan manages to escape on a motorcycle and drive away. But of course, since it's a dream, Freddy Krueger is the motorcycle. So a football player named Dan, is riding a motorcycle that's actually Freddy Krueger. So he's riding Freddy Krueger. Well, in the words of the Flintstones, we'll have a gay old time. But anyway, he, of course, controls Dan and kills him in the dream, which also kills him in real life as he's hit by a truck, and he is dead, and Alice gets the news. Alright. Hold on, I know, I need this stuff to remind me what exactly happens, because I do watch these movies, but most of the time it's a while ago, so I need a little bit of remembrance. And, of course, Alice is very distraught about it, and she's in the hospital, and she's just really sad, but she also, sorts of gets herself checked out to figure out what exactly is going on with her, because she's getting snapped into dream world, but she isn't actually dreaming, and that's where she finds out from Yvonne, who actually helps her, that she's pregnant. So let me get this straight. Freddy Krueger is using a child that's not even showing Like it's not probably not even like 3 months. He's using the child to make dreams where he's able to just go out and just kill everyone while the baby is sleeping. I'm not a science guy. I don't think babies that are formed this early have the ability to dream. I just don't think that's scientifically possible. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just sequel itis. Although it is a bit of an interesting idea, but never mind that. and but later that night, when Alice is, back at home, she gets visited by a young boy named Jacob while she's in the hospital. But apparently, there are no children that are named Jacob at the hospital, as Yvonne tells Alice. So she's starting to wonder what the hell's going on. And she gathers all her other friends together, Greta, Matt, Yvonne, tells them about Freddy and basically everything about him. But Yvonne, she just like, I ain't hearing none of this. But Mark and Greta seem to be really on board with this for some reason. And they promise that in order for Freddy to actually kill Alice, they will have to go through them. And you know what that means, horror fans. And so later that afternoon, Greta's mom is throwing a dinner party with all these other people, probably to help set up her daughter's supermodel future. And Greta's getting ready, and she falls asleep at the table, so you know what happens next. And but apparently when she wakes up, she tells her mother just how controlling she is. Of course, that got her mother really angry. And all these straps and such just suddenly get over Greta, and the food comes in, and it's Freddy Krueger in a chef uniform. Just turns to Greta and says like, "Bon appetit, bitch!" Just like, okay, I'm on board. Let's do this. Let's fatten her up. Whoa. Like, he's actually fattening her up in order to kill her. Like, getting fat is what's gonna kill her. I'm like, geez, I didn't really think you were gonna do this, but damn. Alright, she eats herself alive and she chokes in front of a laughing audience in the dream world. And falls dead. And of course, this gets a startle because really, if your daughter suddenly dies at the dinner table, you kind of have to take notice of that. And so Yvonne and Alice, Fizz and Mark, after like the news of Greta's death comes out, and since Mark was sort of with Greta, I think. Was he with Greta? Or was he just like really into her? Anyway, he's grieving it really hard, and this sort of forms a rift between them all because he's really pissed off, and Mark falls asleep with I think a few comics books next to him, and this is when and this is where Freddy Krueger comes in, and apparently Alice is also dreaming, so she helps Mark a little bit by getting away from Freddy Krueger's house, which is where Mark dreams up into. I don't know why they keep going back to Freddy Krueger's house, but okay. And then Jacob sort of shows up next to Alice, and Jacob hints that Alice is actually Jacob's mother, and that the Jacob before her is sort of like a dream future version of what the baby will grow into. I'm like, this is some time travel shit right here, isn't it? And so, but before the dream sequence ends, wait, does he actually go around? Nope. Mark is still alive. And so even though like Alice tells and so Alice gets Yvonne to do an ultrasound on her and sort of through like a dream thing again. Alice discovers that Freddy is actually using Jacob to have Jacob's dreams feed him and influencing Jacob to end up becoming more like him, sort of like a Freddy Krueger 2.0. I don't understand the logic behind that, but let's just keep going. And of course, Yvonne still thinks that Alice is fucking crazy, and why wouldn't you? And even though Mark is back on like Alice's side, she just storms out because she is not having this. And so back at back at Alice's house, Dan's parents are there and Alice's dad is there, and they sort of like do like a intervention where they tell her that she's becoming a little bit delusional, and they sort of insist that Alice lets Dan's parents raise the child as their own, and even though Alice says no, Dan's mom is just like, "We're gonna take it anyway." I'm like, her body, her choice, and why do you really care about raising the child? Oh wait, yeah, that's right. Dan's dead. Never mind. I understand now. And even though, and Alice's father's just like, whoa, you can't just take the child away. Like, there's gotta be some common sense here. And so, Alice ends up leaving, and Alice and Mark are back at Mark's place and researching Krueger and the nun Amanda on the internet and such, and they sort of come to the realization that Amanda's actually trying to stop Freddy Krueger, which makes sense. And they investigate when she was last seen or when her whereabouts were, and they discover that. And I guess instead of actually going to the physical place, Alice goes to sleep to go to the dream asylum where Amanda is. Don't you think going to the actual physical asylum would help? But anyway, Freddy somehow manages to convince Alice to go away from the asylum back to and he actually convinces her to leave by threatening Yvonne, who right now in the real world is in a jacuzzi and she's falling asleep. And so at this point, Yvonne's probably like, damn, I should have believed her. But before Freddy actually gets a chance to kill her, Alice rescues her, goddamn. And so Yvonne is officially on Alice's side now. She actually believes her. But while this is going on, Mark falls asleep again, and he's pulled into a comic book dream world. Cause why not? This sequel needs to be more comic book like. And he sort of makes himself become a superhero because this is his dream. And Freddy turns himself into a sort of supervillain. And they get into a little battle, but Freddy Krueger actually manages to kill him with the quote, "Told you comic books was bad for ya." Dude, you're gonna end up being in a comic book anyway with your 2 issues from Marvel. Sorry, your 2 issues from Marvel and the comic book sequel, Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash. So I don't think you have any right to be calling shots on comic books. So Alice tells Yvonne to actually go to the asylum in real life and try to find Amanda's remains. And so Alice goes back home into real life and she goes to bed and dream, and she's going to find Freddy and save her son from him before Freddy takes complete control. And apparently, since this couldn't get any goofier, it turns into a maze room from the MC Esher music video. Cause why not? For dreams, I think you can be a little bit more creative than this. And so she finds Freddy sort of within herself in dream world. I don't really know. And she brings him out into the open, and Yovan is in the actual asylum, and she actually finds Amanda's remains hidden by some door, and I guess Amanda joins the dream world and convinces convinces Jacob, the future dream version of the child, to to destroy Freddy by having Alice be absorb him, I guess. And no, that's not right. Amanda absorbs Freddy Krueger into herself, and she tells Alice to go away as she's literally fighting Freddy Krueger inside of her. And then she just manages to seal Freddy Krueger away forever. So, yeah, I guess that works. And of course, it cuts to several months later, where Alice is named the boy Jacob, Daniel Johnson, and they're enjoying a picnic. And Alice's dad is there, and so is Yvonne. Wait, the African American character in a horror movie lives? This is groundbreaking. Never in a horror movie have we seen this happen. That's the biggest surprise of this movie. The African American character survives. And, well, of course, before it ends, it has to have a cryptic ending. So, a familiar version of the Freddy Krueger lullaby can be heard in the background when you see some children jumping rope. And that is A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. How is it? Actually, it's still pretty good. Now, I know there's a mixed reception to it, similar to the fourth movie, but if I'm being completely honest, this fifth movie, The Dream Child, was my first Elm Street movie that I've ever seen. It introduced me to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, where I discovered all the other movies. So, I have a soft spot for The Dream Child. I'm not sure if you people feel the same way, but for me, this was my start to Freddy Krueger, and so I'll always have a special place for it. And to be fair, some of the dream stuff is actually kind of interesting to see, a little bit creative. But of course, the highlight is always Freddy Krueger, played by Robert Englund, doing all those lines like, "Kids, always a disappointment." I mean, how can you not like quotes from Freddy Krueger? He's hilarious. But again, this is still a pretty fun movie to watch, even if it is not all A grade material. So check it out if you want. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Dr. Cinema. See you next time, or in your dreams.